Hello, boys. So, for the shop tour today, I don't think I have anything to show you. Pretty much been through everything. So, for the shop tour, nothing today. I wanted to make this video. Tommy and I have been talking about like America and when did everything just start going to shit around here, right? I've been thinking about that for a long time, like years. Oh, let me go back. So the question you asked me today was about America, our family in that, and if I can figure out how to do it, I'm gonna work in some of the men that kind of raised me, the men I worked with when I was 18 years old, the pipe fitters, sheet metal workers, and plumbers that I think of as having raised me. This may be a longer video. We'll see how it goes. So when did America start going to shit? Well, I used to think it was, Reagan, right? Reagan after, the middle class went to hell after that. And then I started thinking, no, that's not quite right because, before Reagan was Vietnam and Nixon. So I'm thinking, oh, okay, it was Nixon. Many years now I've thought, ever since Nixon, ever since Watergate, things started going to hell. And then Tommy and I were talking the other day, and I'm kind of like, I'm not sure. And then I think I've concluded what I started thinking then, that it was after World War II that everything went to shit. I'm not talking economically. That, of course, from the post-war years up until 1980, when Reagan was elected, it was a huge economic boom for us, but that's economics. That's not everything. Socially, I think we went to hell. Morally, politically, and morally, I think we've gone to hell. Let me say a little bit more about that. So was it a dream to live in the U.S. in 1940 up to 1945? No, it was not, especially for African Americans, people of different races, people of different creeds. No matter what our Declaration of Independence says or our Constitution, it was a very difficult place for everybody who was not white, certainly a white man, right? So I don't romanticize those times the way I used to. I mean, I do love reading about World War II. World War II is a very comforting place for me, but it's more of fantasy land for me. I recognize that it is very white, it is very male, it is white men being heroes and all that stuff. So I think of like Saving Private Ryan, although certainly that's the way it went. Maybe not that particular story, but you know what I mean. That's the story of World War II is America and Western nations triumphing over evil. Absolutely true. It ignores a lot of things about those countries, including America. So when I started thinking about that, I sort of found some. I'm going to talk about this for a minute. So this is Joan Didion, Slouching Towards Bethlehem. This is a book of essays of hers. Written, I think it was published in 1968. And I was reading just the other day, the title essay, Slouching Towards Bethlehem. And in this essay, the essay is about spending a few weeks or maybe a couple of months, in the Hate District in San Francisco during 1967. So that Summer of Love and all that stuff. She's unblinking. She's Tommy knows, and Mitchell, I'll have you know, she's an absolute unblinking cultural critic, political critic, all that stuff too. I'm going to read you two lines from her from this essay. This is at the very beginning. Let me find the spot. I'll read the first sentence. The center was not holding. Adolescents drifted from city to torn city, sloughing off both the past and the future as snakes shed their skin. Children who were never taught and would never now learn the games that had held the society together. I'm going to read that bit again. Children who were never taught and would never now learn the games that had held the society together. She's talking about America. And when I first read that, I'm like, children's games, we all knew children's games. Well, I'm going to take you to not quite the end of it. But near the end, just a few pages left, she finally talks about what she meant by that, and I'll read you what she wrote. This was not a traditional generational rebellion, talking about the hippies. At some point between 1945 and 1967, we had somehow neglected to tell these children the rules of the game we happened to be playing. So she talked about the rules, never learned the rules of the game that held society together, and here she defines it. At some point between 1945 and 1967, the year that she's in the Haight, we had somehow neglected to tell these children the rules of the game we happened to be playing. Those children were in their 20s, the late teens. Those were what the hippies were. That solidified my belief that really things went to shit starting in 1945 after World War II. And she nails, in my mind anyway, the reason. Because in the post-war boom, everything seemed demonstrable, I think. We didn't need to teach those rules anymore about society, about what is a republic, civics. Certainly they still taught civics in school, but it was on its way out. I don't know if you guys ever took civics in high school. And it was 1945. We were invincible, America. We were not invincible before the war in 1939, 1940. Certainly most of 1941, but we certainly were after. It was the beginning of the American century. What does that mean? I wanted to tell you that the America we have now is not the America we had once. It's not even the America of the Reagan years, where we still had utter confidence. It was better, certainly, then politically. In the 80s and into the 90s, it was not a dream fantasy land. There were still, disagreements, strong disagreements. But it was, this is the hellscape that we're in now. I am certain it can get worse. I have been shocked over the last, since 2016, how bad it could get. It just continues to seem to get worse every day. Mitchell, when you texted me the other day, this got me thinking about doing this video. Tommy, you and I also were chatting about the fact that America is over. I want to talk about that for a minute. America has been over many, many, many times in the past. What I mean by that is not that America ceases to exist. Certainly that hasn't happened, and I don't think it's going to happen this time either. America will still be around. America has changed. Oh gosh, I haven't counted, but at least 3-4 times since I've been alive. Pre-Vietnam was a very different America than post-Vietnam. Pre-Reagan was a very different America than post-Reagan. I can talk about that when we see each other at some point. If you'd like, I can define those terms. Pre-Bill Clinton, it was a very different place than post-Bill Clinton. We will be marked and we will be changed by this fucker that's in the White House. And we will know, in my view, we will know in a year or so what path we have chosen as Americans. I am so heartened by the protests. I am heartened by his losses in the courts. Whether he abides by those orders, many he hasn't, some he has. We are going to decide as a country what kind of country we're going to be. Are we going to be an authoritarian country? Certainly, that's what's happening right now. Or are we going to defy that? I don't like the resistance anymore. I like the defiance. That's just me, I guess. Because it feels very different this time. It feels stronger this time, and I'm a little surprised by that and heartened by it. I'm not trying to blow sunshine up your ass. I'm just trying to tell you my truth about how things are going and the way things are going to be. I think the question you asked me today was about America. I don't think it's going to be today about the men that raised me. I think that's a whole different other video. That's a different, something else going on there. I will say though, let me back up a little bit. Why was I a child that was taught the rules of the game that we were playing, that hold society together? And I think both of you were children that were taught the rules of those games. These were not. The boomers, she's talking about the baby boomers. And I think largely, many of them were not taught those rules, don't care about those rules. Trump is a boomer. I think Joe Biden's a boomer, maybe. I don't know. You could have gone either way. She was identifying the ones that, even though they were hippies, turned out to be just absolute shit as they got older because they don't know anything. But I wondered, how is it that I know things? How is it that I was taught those rules? Because I was. And how is it that you were taught those rules? And I think you were because you behaved like you were. I never sat down and told you about the founding of this country and these are the things that we have to do, the rule of law and all that stuff, but I think you might have absorbed it. I'd be interested to hear from you both about that. So why? Well, my grandfather was born in 1899 from a long line of retailers, mercantile, clothing. My Nana was from old money. They had standards. They expected us to behave a certain way. Both of my parents were not boomers. They were greatest generation. I don't know what they called my grandfather's generation, the silent generation, whatever the fuck. But there's something to that. My parents were not boomers, and both your parents were Gen Xers. You're one millennial, one Gen Z. I think there's a big difference between being a baby boomer and being a generation on either side of that. I don't know what it is. I don't have a video for that. But there's something different. I and I'm assuming your mother, certainly Casey, value the rules by which we play these games that hold society together. Many people do. I think you both do. I think, Mitchell, you're not as politically engaged as Tommy and myself, but it is clearly important to you as well. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. I don't know why. I just know it happened, and I'm grateful that it did. The fuckers across the street, those Trump fucks across the street, one's a boomer, one's a Gen Xer, one's a millennial. Actually, I think she might be a boomer. She might be a boomer, he might be a Gen Xer, but neither one of them give a fuck about the rules. They don't know the rules. They don't give a shit. So anyway, what's the message of this? That this country has changed greatly every bunch of years. It just changes. Are we going to have the country we had before Trump? We are not. That's my view. We are not going to have that country. I think the jury is out whether we might actually end up with something better. And by better, I think it's these times are going to make people look at what have we done. The shitbirds across the street. The one guy, I think he might change his mind. I'm still talking with him. Haven't talked to him much just because we haven't seen him much, but I think there's a way in with him. She's fucking angry, stupid. The C word. And I don't want to waste my time with her, and Kayleen doesn't either. We don't want to invite them over because we don't want her in our house, and we don't want to be in her house. But him, I have hope for. So what does that mean? That means that I think there's a possibility we end up with something much better. I really do. We're going to decide. The decision is out. Who knows what we're going to decide? I am waiting with bated breath for the midterms. I don't think the midterms are the end. Certainly not. But it'll be an indicator, and I'm waiting for 2028. I think everything's going to be pretty much shit until the midterms campaigns start, which is in about a year, 10 months or a year, when people, Democratic electeds and committees and money starts to be spent and people start messaging. But there are people doing stuff now. Senator Van Hollen, God love him, and Hakeem Jeffries did what he did. AOC and Bernie out there with other electeds doing their thing. That's all important. And there are people that go around to these marches every couple weekends. I may go to one myself coming up. I'll be honest with you, I'm a little worried about being on a street where the current form of white national terrorist attacks is to drive a big truck down a street and mow down as many people as possible. So I'm a little worried about that, I'll be quite honest with you, which is part of what's kept me from going to them. Anyway, that's the question you asked me today. That's the answer I have. I don't have all the answers. I have my answer, and still looking for some answers on some stuff that I still have questions on. I love you both. Bye.